The screaming started just after breakfast. It wasn't the terrifying, gut-piercing war cry of some interstellar predator, nor was it the shriek of a ship's hull tearing open in space, though to Kelar it may as well have been. It came from the direction of the communal yard, a patch of dry grass surrounded by converted shipping containers that now served as dormitories for the intercultural exchange cohort stationed on Earth. Kelar was halfway through a bowl of oatmeal, a confusing texture he still hadn't fully embraced, when the sound jolted through the air like an alarm. He snapped his head up, instincts flaring. The scream was followed by a rapid succession of sharp, violent barks. Existential threat, Kelar blurted, shooting to his feet. His chair clattered backward. His elongated pupils constricted into tight vertical slits as he scanned the perimeter. Across the mess hall, a few other aliens stirred, but none moved with the urgency he felt. Without waiting for protocol clearance, Kelar sprinted to the exit, arms pumping, joints flexing in a pattern evolved for rapid vertical climbing but currently adapted for panic-based ground sprinting. He burst into the courtyard. And there it was. The beast. It was enormous, at least by Kelar's standards. Coated in thick black fur with a slab-like head and teeth that jutted out like ivory daggers. It was barreling across the grass with terrifying speed, barking in a consistent, aggressive rhythm. Kelar ducked behind the nearest bench, heart pounding. A human stood in the center of the courtyard, arms raised. He was tall, solidly built, with a mess of brown hair and a beard that looked like it had been trimmed with a dull blade. "Charlie," the man yelled. "No jumping, buddy." The beast didn't stop. It lunged. Kelar rolled to the side, hit the ground with a thud, and scrambled behind a rusted barbecue grill. "Stay back," Kelar shouted, grabbing the only weapon at hand, a plastic lawn chair. He raised it like a shield. The creature skidded to a halt, tail wagging like a pendulum. It barked again, then lunged once more. "Charlie," the man barked, more forcefully this time. The beast halted instantly, ears folding back. The man jogged over and clipped a leash to the beast's collar. "Sorry about that," he said, turning toward Kelar. "He gets excited around new people." "Excited?" Kelar rasped, inching out from behind the grill. "You loosed a predator into a neutral zone." The man blinked. "Predator?" "Nah, he just wants to play." Kelar stared at him, stunned. That, he said slowly, pointing at the panting, slobbering animal, was an attempted ambush. The man squatted to pat the beast's head. "Charlie wouldn't hurt a fly." "Well, maybe a squirrel. But he's all bark." Keeler's eyes narrowed. That is not a comforting clarification. The man extended a hand. "I'm Colton Ferris." "You must be the new exchange student from Avenel." Kelar hesitated before accepting the handshake. His palm was clammy, still trembling with residual adrenaline. "Kelar, third cycle scholar, specializing in human sociology." Colton grinned. "Well, you're getting the full experience." Charlie wagged his tail and pressed his nose into Keelar's leg. Kelar leapt backward. "It's touching me." "He's just saying hi. That is how it begins." "Relax," Colton said, standing up. "Dogs are part of human culture. Very common. This one's just a lab mix." Keelar's breathing slowed, but his muscles remained tense. "You have many of these. Hundreds of breeds. Millions of individuals. You'll get used to it." Kelar stared down at the creature. Its tongue lolled out, eyes bright with incomprehensible joy. "I will require time." Colton chuckled. "You hungry? We've got real bacon in the mess hall today." "No. I believe I've had enough foreign encounters for one cycle." Later that week, Kelar was issued a field assignment: observe and document human recreational bonding rituals. Naturally, Colton volunteered to assist. "Thought I'd take you on a hike," Colton said, slinging a backpack over his shoulder. "Fresh air, exercise, maybe spot some deer. You all right with that?" "I accept," Kelar replied, though his tone suggested he did so under duress. They set off on a pine-shaded trail outside the city, Charlie trotting ahead, nose buried in the underbrush. "Is this safe?" Kelar asked, ducking under a low branch. "Totally. This trail's been here for decades. Well marked, no predators." Charlie barked at a squirrel and took off through the trees. Kelar froze. "He's hunting. He's playing." "You say that as if the line between play and predation is thin." Colton laughed. "Sometimes it is." Kelar muttered something in his native tongue and kept walking. They reached a clearing and paused for water. Colton passed Kelar a bottle. Charlie, still off-leash, bounded into the clearing and began digging furiously into the dirt. What is he doing now? Uncovering a stick, probably. He loves sticks. Kelar squinted. He desires plant husks? Yeah, I guess you could say that. Suddenly, Charlie barked and darted toward Kelar, stick in his mouth. Kelar recoiled, stumbled over a root, and fell hard onto his side. A sharp pain lanced through his ribs. Colton rushed over. You okay? Kelar wheezed. I believe I have compromised my thoracic structure. You think you broke a rib? It is possible. Colton helped him sit up carefully. We should get you checked out. Charlie dropped the stick beside Kelar and wagged his tail. Kelar glared at him. You are a menace. The hospital confirmed it: cracked rib, mild contusion. Nothing life-threatening, but painful enough to require rest and medication. For the next week, Kelar was grounded from field assignments. Colton visited daily. I brought you something, he said one afternoon, holding up a small, plush toy in the shape of a dog. Kelar looked at it with suspicion. Is it sentient? Nope. Just fabric. Kelar took it cautiously. Why? Charlie feels bad. Kelar glanced over at the real Charlie, who was sitting obediently outside the dorm window. He does not appear remorseful. He's a dog. He doesn't really do guilt. But he knows you're not around, and he misses you. Kelar sighed. This entire species operates on emotional chaos. You're not wrong. Eventually, Kelar healed. Slowly, the pain faded, and his mobility returned. When he was cleared to resume fieldwork, he requested Colton as his partner again. Are you sure? Colton asked. You nearly got flattened last time. I will approach with caution. But it is critical I understand the bond between your kind and these canines. One afternoon, Colton handed Kelar a leash. Your turn. Kelar blinked. Me? Charlie likes walks. You're up. With a deep breath, Kelar took the leash. Charlie looked up at him, tail wagging. They walked slowly at first. Keelar's grip was stiff, his posture wary. But Charlie didn't bolt. He stayed beside Kelar, tongue lolling, occasionally glancing up as if to check on him. After a few minutes, Kelar relaxed slightly. He is tolerable. That's a start. Charlie stopped beside a tree, sniffed, then sat. Kelar looked down at him. You were less terrifying when stationary. Charlie barked once. Kelar didn't flinch this time. You still sound like a threat, he said. But I am beginning to believe you are not. Colton grinned. Later that evening, Kelar typed up his report. Initial assessment of subject was erroneous. Despite alarming auditory patterns and aggressive movements, primary behavior indicates non-lethal social engagement. Conclusion: barking beast does not desire harm. He just wants to play. Kelar paused, then added, further observation required. He glanced out the window. Charlie was curled up on the porch, tail twitching in a dream. Kelar watched him for a moment, then turned back to his report. And smiled. The cafeteria's ceiling fan squealed with every rotation, a noise that had become so constant no one noticed it anymore except Kelar, who catalogued it daily with the same grim precision he applied to all terrestrial hazards. He sat with his back against the farthest wall, tray untouched, expression unreadable. Across from him, the Alari twins, identical save for their left antennae. One curled and one straight, whispered furiously in their native tongue, pausing only to glance at the monitor mounted above the food counter. The screen displayed a looping advertisement. A grinning man in synthetic athletic gear sprinting beside a dog through a sunlit meadow. The man shouted something inaudible, and the dog leapt over a log with its tongue flapping wildly. The logo for Pause and Pace, the human-canine fitness app, blinked into view with a cheerful jingle. Kelar watched it loop again and again. You keep looking at it, said the straight antennae twin. I'm analyzing, Kelar said without shifting his gaze. You're brooding, added the other. I am not. You're absolutely brooding. Kelar finally blinked. It is not brooding to process a recurring anomaly. You're obsessing over the dog again, the straight one sighed. We told you I am not obsessing, Kelar snapped. I am investigating a social paradox. The twins exchanged glances. The curly one leaned in. Did it bite you again? No, then what's wrong now? Kelar hesitated. He fetched a bottle of painkillers from the human's drawer. The twins stared. I did not command him to do this, Kelar clarified. He retrieved the container, dropped it into my lap, and wagged his tail. Was it the correct medication? Yes. The twins leaned back in unison. That's actually kind of helpful, said the curly one. Disturbingly helpful, said Kelar. I had not moved in hours. There was no visual cue, no verbal request. He simply acted. Maybe he could smell something. I reviewed the literature. Humans have trained these animals to detect hormonal changes, electrical fluctuations, even glucose levels. That's amazing, the curly twin said. It is unsettling, Kelar muttered. He is not a companion. He is a diagnostic drone in fur. The screen looped again. This time the dog caught a frisbee mid-air and the man laughed. Kelar stood abruptly. I require further exposure. The twins didn't follow. Kelar found Colton on the western deck, oiling the hinges of a screen door that hadn't closed properly since a windstorm 3 weeks prior. He whistled tunelessly, a habit Kelar had come to associate with either contentment or boredom. I would like to initiate another observation period, Kelar said without preamble. Colton glanced up, squinting against the afternoon sun. With Charlie. With the full unit. You, the animal, the environment. All variables intact. You're not gonna sue me if he licks your face again, right? I have adjusted my expectations. Colton wiped his hands on his jeans. All right. What are you hoping to learn this time? How the bond sustains itself over time. And how it adapts to non-standard conditions. You mean like stress? Among other factors. Colton nodded. We're heading into town later. Vet appointment. You can come if you want. Veterinary examination? Keelar's eyes lit with interest. I accept. 2 hours later, Kelar found himself wedged into the back seat of Colton's truck beside a crate of tennis balls and a half-deflated air mattress. Charlie lounged across the passenger seat, watching trees blur past the window. Is he aware of the destination? Kelar asked. Probably, Colton said. He knows the smell. Does he experience anticipatory distress? Sometimes. Depends on the vet. He likes Dr. Sato. The clinic was a squat brick building nestled between a laundromat and a shop that only sold novelty magnets. Inside, the air smelled of antiseptic and peanut butter. Charlie trotted in confidently, tail swinging. Kelar followed behind, scanning every inch of the waiting room. A cat in a carrier hissed. A parrot muttered obscenities. A 3-legged dachshund slept across a man's lap. No one screamed. No one fled. They appear calm, Kelar whispered. Most animals don't associate the vet with trauma unless something bad happened there, Colton said. Charlie gets his shots, some treats, maybe a tooth cleaning. Nothing dramatic. A door opened and a woman in green scrubs called Charlie Ferris. Charlie barked once and trotted forward. Kelar trailed them into the examination room where the walls were painted with murals of dancing animals wearing sunglasses. A jar labeled liver biscuits sat beside a scale. Dr. Sato greeted them with a nod. Still chewing on socks, Charlie? He's moved on to remote controls, Colton replied. Kelar observed every instrument as it was laid out. Thermometer, stethoscope, soft rubber muzzle, and used. Dr. Sato ran gloved hands down Charlie's spine. No swelling. As look good. Heart sounds normal. Kelar leaned in. You are using tactile diagnostics? Mostly. Dogs don't fake symptoms. Their physical cues are reliable. Fascinating. And you are not concerned about defensive behavior. He's not in pain. Dr. Sato gave Charlie a shot in the hindquarters. He didn't flinch. Keelar's brow furrowed. He accepted an invasive procedure without restraint. He trusts me. On what basis? Consistency. Routine. Kindness. Kelar said nothing for a long moment. On the drive back, he stared out the window. Your species has cultivated a cohabitant organism with behavioral loyalty and medical utility. Colton tapped the steering wheel. We just call them pets. Too reductive, Kelar murmured. That evening, he returned to the dorms and found the twins seated on the rooftop watching the sky shift from orange to violet. He joined them wordlessly. The curly one spoke first. Did it attack a nurse? No. Did it seduce the local government? No. The straight one leaned back. Then what did it do? Kelar watched a plane streak across the sky, its vapor trail dissipating into dusk. It submitted to treatment and trusted the process. The twins waited. Kelar continued. There was no coercion, no language. It simply knew. The curly twin tilted her head. You sound impressed. I am. Reevaluating. The straight one nudged him. You want one now, don't you? I want to understand how an Earth species achieved voluntary vulnerability. Days passed. Kelar began spending longer hours in Colton's garage, observing Charlie during mundane tasks, laundry folding, light repair work, even quiet evenings where nothing happened at all. He took notes, but less frequently. Instead, he watched. One evening, Colton found him adjusting a floor fan to accommodate Charlie's preferred nap spot. You're nesting for him now? Colton asked. It improved his rest periods. You're starting to sound like a dog owner. Kelar considered this. I lack the cultural framework for ownership. But I am beginning to understand stewardship. Colton tossed him a small rubber chew toy. Then it's time you learned fetch. An hour later, Kelar stood in a field lit by halogen floodlights, holding the chewed toy like it might detonate. Charlie sat in front of him, expectant. You throw it, Colton said. Kelar hesitated, then hurled it. It traveled 30 feet and bounced twice. Charlie bolted, retrieved it, returned. Kelar blinked. He returned it. That's the game. Again. Throw. Retrieve. Return. Kelar felt something shift. Not a revelation. Not a breakthrough. Just a quiet click of understanding. Later that night, he added a single line to his field journal. Trust is taught, but play reveals it. The first sign of trouble was the silence. Kelar had grown used to the constant, low-frequency rustle of human activity in the dormitory, footfalls on linoleum, the scrape of chairs, even the occasional off-key humming from Colton when he thought no one was listening. But today, the hallway was subdued. No murmurs. No canine claws clicking against the floor. He knocked once on Colton's door. Nothing. He knocked again, then cracked it open. Colton sat on the edge of his cot, elbows on knees, staring at a folded sheet of paper in his hands. Charlie was curled against his leg, unmoving except for the twitch of a single ear. Kelar stepped inside. You were absent from the morning rotation. Colton didn't look up. Yeah. Sorry. Kelar hesitated. Have I misread the schedule? No, Colton said. We missed it. I assumed as much. Your absence was noted by Instructor V's. She deducted half a participation unit. Colton gave a dry laugh. Tell her to dock a whole one next time. Kelar studied the paper in his hands. What is that? That results. Kelar sat across from him without being invited. I was under the impression Charlie's last examination yielded favorable metrics. It did. Colton stood and handed over the sheet. This was from the follow-up. Kelar read quickly. Most of it was in shorthand and human medical code, but he recognized enough. Liver enzymes elevated. Mass detected under ribcage. Biopsy pending. Colton nodded. Could be nothing. Or it could be something. Kelar looked at Charlie. The dog blinked once but didn't lift his head. What is the probability distribution for a malignant outcome? 50-50, maybe less. Dr. Sato's optimistic. But I've seen this before. Kelar paused. You are experiencing anticipatory grief. Colton didn't answer. There is no remedial action available at this stage? Surgery. Maybe chemo. But he's not symptomatic yet. We wait. Kelar set the paper down. You should not have attended class today. I didn't. That is what I said. Colton rubbed his eyes. I don't need a lecture. I am not offering one. Kelar sat back. I am calculating how to proceed. You don't have to do anything. That is incorrect. I am your assigned research partner. Your behavior affects my data integrity. Colton smiled faintly. Glad to know I'm a scientific liability now. Kelar blinked. Not a liability. A variable. Charlie shifted slightly and pressed his nose to Colton's shin. Colton reached down and scratched behind his ears. He doesn't know. Not really. Kelar tilted his head. You are certain? Pretty sure. He can sense something's off, but he's not worried. That's the worst part. I fail to see how that is worse. Because he trusts me to fix it. Kelar nodded slowly. And you may not be able to. Colton's jaw tightened. Exactly. They sat in silence for a while. Then Kelar stood. I will return in 1 hour. You don't have to. I have determined a necessary course of action. Kelar left without further explanation. Exactly 1 hour later, he knocked again. When Colton opened the door, Kelar was holding a small, rectangular box wrapped in a reusable produce bag. I require a table, Kelar said. Colton stepped aside. On the desk, Kelar unpacked the contents, a thin scanner, a stack of printed veterinary studies, some highlighted in 4 different colors, and a sealed container of peanut butter-flavored protein paste. You brought snacks? No. This is a reward system. For who? Me or the dog? Both, Kelar said. Sit. Colton obeyed, more bemused than anything. Kelar handed him a stylus. You will read these studies and annotate your emotional responses. Colton raised an eyebrow. Why? Because our shared observational data is incomplete. I cannot document the full human-canine bond unless I understand how it endures under potential terminal conditions. You're making me do homework to distract me. I am structuring your grief. Colton almost laughed. You're serious. To an uncomfortable degree. Charlie had wandered over and was now sniffing the protein paste container. Kelar opened it, scooped a small amount onto a spoon, and offered it. Charlie licked it clean and wagged once. Positive reinforcement, Kelar noted. Still functional. Appetite unaffected. He turned to Colton. Begin reading. Hours passed. By late afternoon, the stack of papers had been halved. Charlie had been fed twice and had taken a short nap beneath the desk. Colton's notes ranged from factual to barely legible scrawls like, how is this fair, and dogs don't deserve this. He didn't stop writing. Kelar remained mostly silent, occasionally adjusting the scanner's angle or noting Charlie's position. At dusk, Colton pushed the final page away and leaned back. That's all of it. Kelar nodded. You processed 97 pages. That exceeds my projection. I'm not sure any of it helped. Then you did it incorrectly. Colton snorted. Thanks. Kelar closed the scanner. You may not feel better, but you are now more prepared. For what? For the next step. Whatever it is. Charlie stretched, stood, and walked over to Kelar. He bumped his head against Kelar's leg. Kelar froze. Charlie did it again. Colton watched, startled. He doesn't do that to anyone else. Kelar looked down. He is seeking contact? Yeah. That's his way of saying thank you. I did not provide a solution. You stayed. Kelar considered that. Then he knelt and let Charlie press against him. He is warmer than I expected. Yeah. He runs hot. Kelar stood. I will continue observations until the diagnosis arrives. You don't have to. You are repeating yourself. Colton smiled. Okay. Fair. 3 days later, the results came back. Colton met Kelar on the roof, holding a single sheet of paper. He's fine, Colton said. Kelar blinked. Define fine. Benign. Just a fatty tumor. No treatment needed. We keep monitoring. Kelar didn't respond immediately. Then he said, you are relieved. More than I can explain. Charlie appeared at the top of the stairs and trotted over, tail wagging. Colton sat cross-legged. I've had dogs before, but he's the first one I raised myself. It's different. Kelar joined him on the concrete. You feared you would fail him. Yeah. You did not. Colton scratched Charlie's back. No, but it scared the hell out of me. I will include that in my report. Colton laughed. They watched the sky shift into early evening. Charlie lay between them, head on his paws, safe. Kelar closed his eyes briefly, then opened them and said, he does want to play, but he also stays when it matters. Colton nodded. That's the whole thing. I believe I am finished with this study. Really? Yes. I understand now. Colton leaned back. What's next? Kelar looked out at the horizon. Possibly cats.